Today I'm going to be taking a look at this brand new box of Japanese watercolors. They are the Kuretake Gansai Tambis, a 24 set, and their newest set of Art Nouveau paints. At least I think it's the Art Nouveau set because it does not say it anywhere on this paper. I hope it is. I guess we're going to find out today. Let's get into it. I picked up this set at the art shop, and if you haven't seen my video which came out recently, I did a very in-depth tour of the art shop, and I did actually purchase this around that time, but they didn't have it in stock and so I had to order it. That's why I didn't show it in that actual video, but I ordered it. It turned up on Valentine's Day, so I'm calling this a Valentine's Day gift to myself. I had to get this set because I already have the largest set that they have, which is the 48 in this box, and I just really wanted to add to it because I love these paints. I think they're really beautiful. You can see the size difference between the 48 and the 24. So I'll just give you a little bit of a glimpse of this so you can see what paints are already in the Kuretake Gansai Tambi set. So I've done a video on this. I will link it at the end of this video so you can check out all of these colours as well. They originally had a 36 set and then they released a separate 12 set with a whole bunch of colours, and then they built it into this one large 48 box. What's the bet that they're next going to include this lot in an even bigger box, and then I'll have to buy that because I must have the whole set? How annoying will that be? But for now I'm just going to have to live with two boxes here. First world problems, I tell you. From the brief look I've had, all of these colours are new and there are no duplicates from the previous sets, so that's exciting. I always love to try new colours. Here's a brief look at the colours, some intriguing ones in there, and I'll get the box open so we can see what the colours look like in their pans. I do like the simplicity of their boxes. They're always so nice. It's cardboard, but it's got a lovely fabric feel to it, and I like that green too. As always, they have a swatch card in the box itself, which is just on shiny paper, so it never works very well, but at least you can get some idea of the colours. I always keep these on, I don't know why. You could use it as a mixing tray, I suppose. And here are all the beautiful colours. The one that stands out to me the most is that vermilion looking colour. That's gorgeous. What is that? It is vermilion! Yay! I called it exactly as it is. That does not look like alizarin crimson to me. That looks nothing like alizarin crimson, at least not the ones that I've seen. It's way too pastel. I guess what I will do next is swatch them out because I'm really curious to see how they look. They never look quite the same when they're painted out. So I will be painting in this box, but I am going to actually do a proper swatch on some nice watercolour paper. I'm also really happy that they have stuck the English names in the box because they're definitely not on these little pans, I don't think. Here we go. So they're very flat pans. They're great if you want to put a large brush into them. There is definitely... oh no, look at that. They've got the English name on the bottom of the pan as well, which is excellent because if these fall out and they get mixed up, then I know exactly which colours they are, and the numbers as well, they match up with them. Swatching in my Etcher sketchbook, eagle-eyed viewers may notice that I spelled nouveau incorrectly. I have a habit of writing an X on the end of French words for some reason. I fix that up later. Starting out with a very bright saffron yellow, it does have a greenish undertone to it, and it sits nicely next to this green gold. I also swatched the colours out in the box lid later off camera, and I totally forgot to put a picture of that up in here. But they look pretty much the same. Next up is flax beige, and beside it is an ecru beige. I was wetting the paper first just to see how the colours would disperse. These Gansai Tambi paints pretty much work in exactly the same way as any other watercolours I've used. Some people will say they're more like gouache, and they kind of are if you paint them on really thickly, but when they are diluted out with water they look just like watercolours. Just maybe with a bit more sheen when they dry. I absolutely adore the pinks in this set. That pale pink is so delicate. Then there's a mid-tone coral pink and a slightly darker Potter's pink, although that's a very pastel one too. And then the brightest colour in the set, the vermilion. It's not quite as bright as I was expecting, but it is by comparison to the other colours in this set. Barring perhaps that saffron yellow, which is also a really bright one. The alizarin crimson is definitely not what I would have expected. My guess is it's alizarin crimson mixed in with white. Mauve taupe is beautiful as well. A very muted looking pink. There is no information on pigment numbers, so I really don't know what these are made up of. I don't know if they're light fast. I've never done any tests myself, so I couldn't tell you. Pinks, as a rule, generally aren't that light fussed. But I'm not too worried about it. It's in a sketchbook, and I'm sure they'll be fine. There is not much in the way of blue in this set. We have the greyish blue and then this cobalt turquoise light, which admittedly is an absolutely beautiful colour. It's one of my favourites in the set. Oh, and then there's pale aqua too, which is leaning a little bit more towards the green side, and it's such a stunningly beautiful pale colour. It goes well with that pale pink. So if you're a fan of pastel colours, this set is perfect for you. It does have a few deeper ones like this cobalt green, but almost all of them I think have white in them, and so there is that pastel undertone, and I just think they're really beautiful. Even billiard green here feels like it has white. Shadow green was not as dark as I was expecting. It's more of a dark aqua colour, but it is actually very nice, and I did end up using this one quite a bit in my painting, as we'll see. In contrast, pea green is a very bright one. So even though quite a lot of these seem to have white in them, they are actually quite transparent. I don't know that that ivy green has any white. It's a really transparent one. And I don't find that these have any chalkiness whatsoever. They're really high quality professional paints. I think they're fabulous, and they are an excellent addition to the larger 48 set. All new colours, so now there are 72 of them, and the set just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I've been swatching out green grey and beige grey. Neither of them, to be honest, look very grey. This yellow brown, which I think is a really nice colour, and the Mars yellow, which is a lovely deep orangey yellow colour. And last up is Venetian red. One of the few earth colours. There's not much brown in here. And here they all are dried. Let me just white out that X. I always put it there. I don't know why I always have to write an X at the end of Nouveau. It's a very pretty colour palette. Some of the colours have run quite strangely, and this is just because I think there's a lot of water on the paper when I was swatching them, but they are very pretty colours. That green grey looks like it has a bit of granulation in it, as does the Venetian red and that yellow brown. I'm not really seeing much granulation anywhere else, except maybe the beige grey as well. I was doing a bit of research about Art Nouveau and looking at some of the artworks and things that came out of that period. I found this particular one, which is pretty much exactly this colour palette. This is Reverie by Alphonse Mucha, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and this was painted around 1897. It's hard to tell because this is just a regular old printout on some cheap printer paper, but I think the colours look really close to this Art Nouveau palette, so I think I might actually try and recreate this. I'm going to have to do it on a separate piece of paper though, because this is in the wrong format. It's in landscape and this is portrait, and I cannot possibly have it like this in my book. It will drive me nuts, so I'm going to do it on a separate piece of paper, and I might also do an artwork in here as well. I think I'll use a sheet of this nice hot pressed paper. I feel like it needs to be on smooth paper, and I might use a light box to transfer this image, because there's no way I'm gonna sit there free-handing all those little flowers. Oh, that's just too much time. Here we go. I've turned it into a colouring page. That's not complicated at all. I forgot to record a little bit at the start of this painting, but I'm starting with the background, going in with the shadow green, which I thought most closely matched the original image, although I think the original is slightly bluer, but it's not that much difference. And did I say this thing was not complicated? Yeah, right, it was so time-consuming and it took me ages to do this painting, but I have to admit I quite enjoyed it. And yes, I would probably consider this one more of a colouring in than an actual painting. I mean, I directly traced the artwork onto this paper. Because Reverie was painted in 1897, more than 100 years ago, it is now considered public domain and is not in copyright anymore. That's how people get around printing out old paintings and things and selling merchandise, because it does not have that copyright. They're pretty much free to use, but obviously I'm not going to take credit for the original artwork since it is someone else's painting. I really like this one. It popped up when I was doing a bit of research on Art Nouveau, and it immediately caught my eye because the colours are just so exactly like the palette. I spent a bit of time dropping in different colours for the lady's skin, some of the yellows and also the really light pinks. Whoever curated this set got the colours pretty much bang on. I was able to find all of the colours, I think, for this painting, or at least really similar ones, and so the finished artwork does look pretty close, I think. Though in the end I didn't do all of the detail in the background because it was so fiddly. I also did take the black out of the 48 set to use in this painting because there is black in here and there were no colours dark enough to make a black in the Art Nouveau set. At least not as black as I wanted. So a brief little history. Art Nouveau is an international style of art and architecture that was popular between 1890 and 1910. The objective was to break down the distinction between fine arts and applied arts, so it's often used in things like interior design, furniture, graphic arts, textiles, ceramics, jewellery, and metalwork. Before then, fine arts was basically paintings and sculptures. But as we know today, fine arts can include a lot more than that, and there are some absolutely stunning pieces of architecture out there, along with textiles, ceramics, jewellery and metalwork, and all sorts of other arts and crafts that people like to create. But I'm just sticking with a painting here. I wasn't about to try and sculpt anything, and even this painting was quite challenging. I'm glad I used the hot press paper for this. It was really great for these paints. The smooth texture of the paper really lent itself well to these pastel colours, and I'm using just a wet on dry technique here. I'm not trying to do wet on wet, which hot press paper is not great for in my opinion. It's excellent for details though. And I did try to keep as much as I could in this painting, although there are a few areas where I just gave up because it was just too difficult. Her dress for one of them, and also that background, which you will see is quite blobular in the end. And here's me using that black from the 48 set. It's a lovely dark black, and so it was perfect for this. I also did some line art at the end because that's also in the original image and it looks really good. Overall, I'm so happy with this painting. I spent a lot of time with it, and it was really fun copying another artist's work just to see the kind of colours that they used and their designs. It's such a great way to learn about art history and also to understand different styles of art that have existed in the past, and it also helps develop one's own style. So I definitely recommend looking at old artworks and finding ones that catch your eye and maybe trying to recreate them, either from scratch or as a colouring page as I have done here. I think I'm gonna call this one done before I wreck it, especially the face. I got close to making a big smudge on there, but I think I fixed it up a bit. It's not perfect, some of the designs in the background are pretty blobby, but I do quite like how it came out, and I think the colours are absolutely perfect for this kind of painting. After a fair bit of time, I've actually come up with my own image. I drew this out, it took forever. It's made up using a composite of different reference photos, and I'm really hoping it's going to turn out somewhat Art Nouveau once I get the colours on it. I've transferred it into my sketchbook on the other page next to the swatches. Hopefully this will turn out okay. I'm calling this one Dreamer, and it kind of ended up being somewhat of a self-portrait, albeit a much younger and skinnier version of myself. I used that lovely pale blue for the background and then went in with the slightly darker turquoise blue around the edges. I like how this one turned out, although I'm really regretting the border. I think I could have just had the floral circle and then painted the whole of the background blue without that frilly bit of border. This is also due to this paper absolutely dying around the edges, and so when I painted it in black, it ran everywhere. It was a total disaster. So if I could change anything, it would be that. but I really wanted to showcase the brightest vermilion colour in here, so I painted her dress this colour. It's also something I would totally wear, and she ended up with dark hair like mine too. I used to have my hair a lot longer. And this is before it had grey streaks in it as well. I don't know how Art Nouveau this is, but I really enjoyed painting it. It was fun using these colours, and I think I learned a little bit about the style. It was just fun to see if I could come up with something that even vaguely resembled it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did I achieve an Art Nouveau look? So that's everything I got done today, and I really love this box of paints. I think they're fabulous. I'm glad I got them and that they will go with my other set. I think they're all really pretty colours and they work well on their own, although I did have to use a black because black just works well with everything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was a helpful video, and if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and you might like to click that subscribe button for future videos. In the meantime, I've got a video up here on the Kuretake set, the 48 colours, and you might want to check that out as well. I hope you're having a fantastic day out there, and I'll see you all again in my next video. Swatch you later. Bye!